The flam. So this is where we're going to introduce our first embellishment in drumming, which is, we call it the flam. So what an embellishment is in music, an embellishment is probably described as where you add colour to a note. So in drumming terms, it gives our note, or our beat if you want, more impact. It makes it thicker or makes it sound broader. So how can we do that? So if I play one beat, how I make that broader? Well, quite simply, I can introduce in my other hand, and we basically move the two sticks almost at the same time, where we get a little bit thicker of a sound. Okay? So to achieve that, I have to have a high hand, and I have to have a hand lower. So if you can look at my hand, so we'll start with the right hand flam. So with the right hand flam, you basically lift your right hand up in a position like that. And your low hand always stays nice and level. So you have this difference of height in your stick. So if you even, without hitting your drum pad on the stick, on your drumstick on the pad, you just move your hand like that. So the gap between the sticks doesn't change. So what you don't do is when you go to strike is you lift your bottom hand and they both go at the same time. Because what that will do will give you a sound like this. So if you keep your distance and move them like that, when you strike you get a sound probably best described as like a cluck sound. Okay? Not the easiest thing in the world to do, also not the hardest thing to do. You need to be focused and concentrate, especially at the early stage, to do this right. Now it's very important to get this right in the early stage, because if you get yourself in the habit of doing it wrong, it's very, very hard to get out of that habit. So make sure you stay concentrated, high hand, low hand, and when you strike, keep that, both sticks move at the same time, keep that gap, and you get a nice cluck sound like that. So let's change over to the other hand, and this one will be described as a left hand flam, because your top hand is the left hand. So this time you keep your right hand nice and straight, and again same thing, keeping the gap, you move the two sticks at the same time. Okay? Just be careful again when you go to strike, you don't lift your bottom hand, because that will make the two sticks hit together. So keeping that gap, so hitting with your left hand, you should get a nice cluck sound also. Always make sure your bottom hand strikes just before. Okay, the flam exercise. Now what I would describe to people, a good way of doing this is when you're moving from one hand to the next. If you ever have seen a conductor in an orchestra, he does little hand rhythm movements like this. He also does a rhythm where he can go up and down like that. So basically if I do that with my hands, you can see if I strike that off the pad, I'm basically doing a flam motion. So if you can think of the conductor in an orchestra, where you're one up, one down, it certainly can be a good aid to helping you perfect the flam properly. So we're going to play the first line in the flam exercise, which is all crotchet notes. So it's nice and slow. So after 2, and we start with our right hand pinch grip first up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so that's the crotchet rhythm. So if you look down next, you see the next line is quaver notes, because there's one line joining the notes together in the bottom. So we're now going to play the quaver rhythm in flam. So this one's obviously going to move a wee bit quicker. But the most important thing, if you remember, that conductor rhythm, and try and keep your hand shape, especially in the early stages. So let's play the quaver rhythm in flams. After 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 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 stop. Okay?